Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to Hot News. I have an existential question of the day for you, which is when you clean your shower, are you your shower? Or when you wash out your bathtub, are you your bath's bath? These are the questions that keep me up at night. I'm so plagued by it. It's almost like a pandemic in my brain. But let's go ahead and talk about the titular article of the day, which is about NVIDIA's Ampere architecture. We have some new information coming out from a leaker over on Twitter known as Corgi Kitty, who has provided us with some leaks in the past that still haven't quite turned out to be true because the amount of time for them to be true haven't turned out, or it hasn't elaborated yet. So we're just waiting on information to play out for time to elapse to see if this is a verified leaker, but the leaks were so good that everybody's talking about them, and so we needed to cover them here on Hot News as well. So first up, the big one that I think is probably one of the hardest to swallow is that the next generation of Ampere architecture is going to be based on Samsung's 10 nanometer production, which is weird for a couple reasons. One, NVIDIA has had a history of using TSMC, and there's already been rumors popping up of NVIDIA switching to Samsung, so that NVIDIA has already had to come out and reaffirm their relationship with TSMC to produce these GPUs. Secondly, it wouldn't be on 7 nanometers or EUV lithography. In fact, specifically, it says it would not have EUV. It would just be a regular 10 nanometer node. It means that NVIDIA wouldn't be on the most advanced technology that even Samsung has, which is just weird. You would assume that they would be on the bleeding edge, but they're not going to be, according to this rumor. Maybe they don't need it because AMD is so pathetic. That could be their reasoning, or it could... I'm not saying that as fact. I'm saying that as what I said. Okay. But that makes it weird for me for a couple reasons, but it also is possible just because the plethora of rumors that have been out there that NVIDIA will be switching to Samsung, but this could also be like Intel is using other foundries. It's sometimes just made up. Then next is the performance of the upcoming RTX 3080 Ti, or as they're talking about in the leak, the GA102, which would be the die that the RTX 3080 Ti uses. So it's anticipated to have an 84 SM setup, 5,376 CUDA cores, 12 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM, and up to 40% faster than the RTX 2080 Ti in traditional games based on rasterization and not necessarily on the RTX performance side of things. So this is a rumor that already came out previously that the RTX 3080 Ti was going to be 50 to 100% faster than the previous generation, but that was based on the fact that ray tracing was going to see a large uptick with ray tracing advanced, or whatever NVIDIA is going to call their next generation of cores. So that was already expected, but with this, the 40% is supposed to be in traditional 3D based applications so that your regular frame rate would go up by 40% on the 3080 Ti, not just in ray traced applications. So this is a large jump, an even larger jump than what we got from the 10 series to the 20 series. So it seems like this would be a significant upgrade if it indeed did come out. And then there's also information that SLI will only be available for the GA102, or the top level GPU, and then RTX for everybody. That means all the way down the stack of the chips, ray tracing would be on every single GPU, whereas currently the TU107 chip doesn't have ray tracing on it because that is a GTX class card. But apparently with the improvements that NVIDIA has been making with ray tracing in the last 2 years since they launched the Turing architecture, they will be able to bring ray tracing out to the lower end cards. And just quickly looking at the chart, what we see is that a GA103, which is a new type of chip, we haven't seen a 103 on the Turing setup, would be 110% of the performance of an RTX 2080 Ti, and the GA104, which would likely either be an RTX 3080 or 3070, would be about 95% of a 2080 Ti. My guess is that would rather be the RTX 3070 and not the 3080. So that means a 3070 will be equivalent to a 1080 Ti. So 1080 Ti is still relevant. So this is a big rumor. Obviously take this with a huge heaping grain of salt. We obviously don't know if this is going to play out. We don't know if that NVIDIA is even going to be on Samsung, call it Ampere. There's not a whole lot going on. We're just waiting to hear from NVIDIA on that, which we're going to be waiting for them to have their GTC keynote that they've canceled on March 24th is when they're going to have their investor call that we'll tune into. And then just a couple of quick notes on other NVIDIA information. The RTX 2060 might potentially be getting a refresh to have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. This is according to an EEC filing that ASUS submitted for their ROG Strix cards, which aren't the super level cards, they're just regular RTX 2060s. This is not uncommon for NVIDIA to do. They did it with the GTX 1060, we got the 3 gigabyte, the 6 gigabyte, the 5 gigabyte, and I believe there was a 4 gigabyte at some point. I might be wrong, but there were several iterations of the 1060, and it was super weird. And then you had the 1060, was based on the 1080s core. It was all a mess. But in case you wanted 8 gigabytes on your RTX 2060, there it is. And then apparently NVIDIA's Australia and New Zealand Twitter account tweeted out something kind of cool and then promptly deleted it. And it looks like there's another announcement coming out from NVIDIA on March 19th. It's possible that this will be about foveated rendering technology that they could use in VR. And for those of you who are not familiar, foveated rendering is the technique of just having all of the pixels that you're directly staring at be rendered in full resolution, and then everything on the periphery on the VR would be rendered in lower resolution, thereby increasing frame rate, especially since you're not focusing on the things on the edge. They don't necessarily need to have as high detail and therefore wouldn't necessarily have to take so much computing horsepower. So we'll see if that's actually going to happen, but NVIDIA themselves leaking this one on their side. And then I kind of smushed Stadia and NVIDIA together a lot just because NVIDIA has GeForce Now. So we're going to close this off with some Stadia news, and that is Ubisoft has made some announcements with regards to being on Google Stadia. They came out with a release date for The Crew 2, which will be out on March 25th, which is a sequel nobody asked for. But then the one that rustles my jimmies so much that I have to just vent to you for a second is that, you know, we want Google Stadia to have some of the latest titles. It would be great if they actually made their promises stick, such as playing Doom Eternal in 4K at full resolution, you know, with 60 FPS. That's what they promised us. But no, we're getting upscaled 1080p. There's tons of promises that Stadia is broken, but this is how they're going to fix it. We're going to get Monopoly.
Yes!
April 28th. Monopoly's coming to Google Stadia. You know that game about the bourgeoisie controlling all of the income and making the lesser people who have less money feel like pieces of crap, and then ruining all of your relationships and making it so that you never enjoy a time with your family again? That game, yes, that's what Google Stadia thinks is the best implementation to bring out to show us that their platform is the best one in the way of the future. It's the future of gaming, to play freaking Monopoly on cloud gaming. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted, to have virtual friends rage at me because I took over Park Place and Boardwalk, and now they can't afford anything because the rent's too gosh dang high and they're being forced out. But guess what? They caught Voldemort, so they can't even go to work, and now I'm sitting here with all the money and they're screwed, and I'm laughing all the way to the bank, and so is Stadia because people are paying them for this nonsense. I'm done. Bye. No, not bye. Don't forget to answer the existential question of the day, which is when you clean your shower or your bath. Are you your shower and your baths? I don't know. I need facts. Where's Ja? That's the end of this one. Hit the like button. See you tomorrow. Bye. With all the cleaning going around, we got to answer these things. We need to know how washing works, and who is what, and what is who. And existential. Cut that. I'm being weird. Catlin, cut out my weirdness.
Dogs.
Reece is mean.